In today's video I want to show you the pinnacle of Fireball, the perfected Meatballmancer. Absolutely insane survivability, unrivaled AoE and pretty decent boss damage will elevate your gameplay to the highest peaks of Loot Mountain. Some of you however are not loaded with mythics already, which I also have experienced. This video will showcase both. From start to finish, explaining the intricacies of the Fireball skill, attack speed buckets, breakpoints, mechanics, gear in different stages and ultimately how to progress your character to become the god of meatballs. So welcome to the experience of delicious loot falling into your lap. Please make sure to fasten your subscribe, like and comment button before engaging in this spicy endeavor. The overall mechanics are relatively simple. Fireball with the gloves of the Illuminator changes to a bouncy meatball jumping 3 times, dealing damage every time. This will always result in a damage plus if aimed at the right spot, which is slightly before an enemy so that at least 2 saucy explosions hit your target. Double cast chance spreads your fireball slightly to the left and right, so make sure to aim dead center at your target to always hit them with both. Next we are going to add the Staff of Endless Rage into the mix. This staff triples your fireballs every third cast. The counter is not influenced by double cast chance, meaning you will always need to press the button 3 times for this effect to occur. Double cast chance copies the effect instead, resulting in 6 fireballs bouncing towards your enemy. The left and right spread also occurs here, making it much harder to hit all fireballs on the same target. Well, except the very first impact, ground 0. You need to position yourself right before an enemy to benefit from the full damage buff provided by each core unique. And you need to analyze your surroundings. Keep walls away from your precious meatballs. They flee and disappear near walls, making dining a problematic affair. Position yourself facing away from walls. You need the additional explosions of your fireball to sustain your mana with the gloves of the Illuminator. The core mechanics explained right here are what makes the build function. We further combine this with summons and a ton of CDR to constantly spam abilities, never running out of barrier and achieving 100% uptime on unstable currents, an incredible attack speed buff in its own bucket and a damage buff in form of additional lightning spears. Conjurations hitting enemies also apply vulnerable, resulting in a massive more multiplier, negating the need for a chance to apply vulnerable affix on gear. Lastly, we also benefit from very easy tile rusher stacks, with the last one being acquired through Tyraels, a mythic item which also provides us with a ton of life on hit as well as attack speed. Life on hit might seem like a waste, but we can further combine this with Temerity to basically acquire 100% barrier on top of already a decent life pool. Nigh immortal we stride towards our loot, blasting, deleting and pillaging. The additional massive attack speed roll also makes it possible to get to the last attack speed breakpoint, allowing us to attack 3.5 times per second. The massive mana consumption however cannot be mitigated without a second mythic unique, the Ring of Starless Skies. All of this combined culminates in the perfect sauce for the perfect meatball. But wait, there is more. We can nearly maximize our defenses with this setup. Tyraels provides us with max poison resistance, and Potent Ward, a passive skill in the skill tree, provides us with fire and lightning and ice res, only leaving shadow resistance as the last threat to our health. We can easily get to the hard cap of 85% for nearly all damage types without the need of a Tyraels Might. All this can be found in written form in the Mobalytics planner with detailed sections for each topic and multiple planners for each stage of the game. Make sure to also leave a like here, which would help me out a lot. Next, let's have a look at the skill tree and subsequently the Paragon board before we dive into the gear and stats, like attack speed breakpoints, buckets, mana sustain, crit chance and CDR. Fireball is a very decent skill even while leveling, and especially with the new XP rates and especially with the new buffs to the skill and the Sorcerer class, you can blast through the campaign, blast through level 1 to 70 without any issues, even without the gloves of the Illuminator. Next, a quick look at the skill tree. We are going to pick up Fireball with 5 points and only enhanced Fireball. Next up we are going to pick up Potent Warding with a massive boost to our maximum resistances. So once we cast our Ice Blades, our Lightning Spear, Ice Armor, Teleport, Unstable Currents or Fireball, we will get the benefit of a maximum resistance buff. This will basically take care of lightning fire and cold damage for you. Because of the massive mana sustain we have on this build, we always benefit from elemental dominance. Shimmering Teleport provides us with a damage reduction buff. Because of Ice Blades and the summoned Ice Blades cooldown reduction, we are lowering the cooldown of Ice Armor, Teleport and Unstable Currents to always have them up. This means we have 30% more mana regeneration practically the whole time. We don't need Shimmering Teleport after a certain breakpoint, so you can take this one out and increase the barrier you obtain through Ice Armor or reduce the cooldown of Teleport. I would highly advise to go with Teleport. With Elemental Attunement, we can reset one of the cooldowns in the defensive section, so Ice Armor or Teleport, and we pick up Glass Cannon. In the next section, we pick up Ice Blades with Summoned Ice Blades to reduce the cooldown of all our skills. We're constantly going to spam Ice Blades and have practically 3 to 4 on the battlefield constantly. They apply vulnerable for us, and we have Lightning Spears. We also have around 2 to 3 on the battlefield all the time because of the cooldown reduction we obtained for the build. This will apply vulnerable to a lot of enemies all the time. This will also buff our damage through Conjuration Mastery, increase our movement speed and mana regeneration. At this stage we want Protection. Later on we will drop this one to 1 point in the Exodia version, so the Mythic version, to get Align the Elements up and running. Because of Andariel's and Temerity we don't need the interaction of Protection. I just have 1 point here as an emergency shield button. Otherwise the skill tree looks the same for all versions, except the leveling version, but the leveling version is a little bit special with more defenses. Then we pick up Inner Flames and Devouring Blaze. Devouring Blaze can be beneficial to our build, but remember, this one is multiplied by the critical strike chance you have and then spits out a more multiplier. This means if you only have 30% crit chance, this one applies only 30% of the time. So you need to multiply this one with 0.3 to get the real more multiplier you would get from Devouring Blaze. This makes Inner Flame as well as Glass Cannon much more attractive for our damage, so we want to get those on the amulet. Next we pick up Fiery Surge for mana regeneration. You can later drop this one, especially once you have your mana sustain up and running, and you can put those points into the Teleport skill. And we pick up Soulfire for mana cost reduction and more damage. If we stand still, which we want to do for bosses, we are going to maximize our damage with this one because this one doubles the more multiplier here. And then we pick up Unstable Currents with the Prime Unstable Currents attack speed buff. This one is in a different bucket, in a special bucket, so this one increases our attack speed above the 100% threshold. And we pick up Ace's Ferocity for more crit damage and more multiplier and crit strike chance. Next we're going to look at the Paragon board. We're going to start with Elementalist in the first starter board. Next up we pick up Searing Heat, grab the Searing Heat node, which provides us with crit strike chance as well as a more multiplier. We then move to the Frigid Fate board, pick up Frigid Fate, pick up Control as the glyph, move up to the Enchanter board, pick up Unleash, which is now at 25% mana regeneration buff and 8% increased damage buff. Next we pick up the Burning Instinct board and pick up Tactician here. Move back down to the Searing Heat board, pick up Pyromaniac, pick up the Keyless Conduit board with the Destruction glyph, and last you want the Static Search board with the Flame Feeder glyph. Along the way, pick up all the DR. Early on you can path through the fire resistance nodes here to cap your fire resistance, but later on you don't need that, so you path down here to save on some points. And early on it is debatable that you can pick up the Ruinous node, but this one costs a lot of points and only provides you with 20% non-physical damage, which you will have more than enough with this build, so you don't need to worry about not capping Frigid Fate or Searing Heat. Next up we are going to take a look at our equipment. We're going to start with the Godslayer Crown, pick up cooldown reduction here, it is very important, and maximum life on the masterwork. This one provides you with a massive more multiplier and the cooldown reduction you really want. On the chest, this chest is basically the best in slot chest you can find without the greater FXS for a non-mythic version of the build. You want maximum life, mana per second as a greater FX, and total armor to cap your armor. Even at 7 masterwork you will still need skull gems on your gear, so on both rings, to get to the 9230 cap. Without this armor, you won't be able to cap your armor. Later on, you can drop the mana per second for intelligence once you obtain a Ring of Starless Skies and an Andariel's Visage. Next up are the Gloves of the Illuminator. Ideally on those, you want to hit the Masterworks on the Fireball, not the critical strike chance, especially once you are at 40 crit strike chance. With all the bonuses, you get to 60%, which is the soft cap. Math wants you to have 60%. Every point above that will still benefit you, but below that, you really want to get crit strike chance to this point. Fireball ranks are always nice. This is a more multiplier basically. So on your Fireball, if you take off your gloves, you lower the base attack damage of your fireball by a massive amount. So you want to ideally have the fireball greater affix and as little less damage as possible on your gloves. Next up, we are going to rock the Tyraels Will. Maximum life or damage reduction is the best masterwork here. With this no veiled aspect on your chest, you will basically always unstoppable. You get the damage reduction buff here and 20% more damage, and you regenerate a little bit of primary resource, which is nice to offset positioning mistakes. Next up, your boots, intelligent, maximum life and movement speed. You want to masterwork the movement speed. You want to have greater affix on the movement speed. You want later on a maximum life roll as a greater affix. Really important to get to 20k life. Very important. Otherwise, you will get one shot constantly in tier 7 Infernal Hordes. The evade cooldown reduction is nice to have on those boots for free maximum evade charges. We're not going to lower the cooldown of evade by attacking, so having the cooldown reduced this way is the best way to go. Additional movement speed is also nice. For the Staff of Endless Rage, intelligence and fireball greater affixes, aim for those. Projectile speed and chance to double cast is basically useless. You get to 100% anyway with this one with a good roll on double cast chance. Intelligence and fireball ranks give you more damage. You want to also ideally have a high roll on the increased damage multiplier on the staff itself. On the amulet, you want to have maximum life if you're not at 20k. Otherwise, pick up glass cannon, cooldown reduction and inner flames. Masterwork, any of those, really great to have either way. Pyromancy attack speed and unstable current cooldown are both mandatory on the amulet. If you don't hit those, it's bricked. You need the pyromancy attack speed on a high roll on this one to get to the 141% attack speed cap to obtain 3.5 attacks per second. So pyromancy attack speed as well as the fireball attack speed on the gloves of the Illuminator are in a different bucket. This is also true for unstable currents. So you get 25% here, around 20% here, and around 15% here. With all of those and the Ring of Starless Skies, as well as Andariels and an Elixir of Advantage, you will be able to get to 87.7 attack speed. This is the sheet attack speed. So this means the gloves of the Illuminated attack speed, as well as the Pyromancy attack speed, as well as the unstable currents do not show up here. Those go above the 100% cap on this one. So you can reach 141% attack speed. You can find the exact breakpoints and the buckets on screen right now. Now, before we move on to the mythic items and temerity, I want to have a look at a decent ring. This one has intelligence, crit strike chance, as well as potentially attack speed. Really important before you have Andariels and Starless Skies. You want to ideally hit the pyromancy attack speed here and unstable currents cooldown. Crit strike damage is not that good, but that's what I hit on this one, and that's what I have been using for a long time. And on Tyraels Iridescent Loop, I have non-physical damage to cap out my Frigid Fate. Later on, at 100% masterwork, you only need one. You want to ideally hit a high cooldown reduction roll and get this one as a greater affix. Potent warding 5 is enough. So if this one is masterwork to full with one additional masterwork proc, this one will be able to cap our fire resistance, lightning and cold resistance at 85%. You want to also have a high roll on the 70% more multiplier here, possibly 80% more multiplier. You get 20% more damage per element used, with shadow and poison being the odd one out. As a sorcerer, you don't have access to this. So how do you get access to this one without a staff that has it as a proc? With Andariels Visage, which brings me to Andariels Visage. This one provides us with a poison proc. So we get the poison damage. We proc Tyraels, we get 20% more damage. So this one offsets the Harlequin Crest 20%. Compared to Harlequin Crest, we get all stats. We get live on hit and attack speed, a ton of sheet attack speed. So this one buffs this one. Same with the Starless Skies ring. So we want to equip both of them. First, you want to grab the Ring of Starless Skies, next the Andariels Visage, not the other way around. And we want to further combine Andariels Visage with a temerity. Ideally, you want to hit the attack speed on the Andariels Visage, the attack speed on the Ring of Starless Skies, as well as crit strike chance later on if you want to, or core skills if you cap out on both. And you have temerity with damage reduction while healthy. You want to hit only this and the maximum life percentage, providing you in combination with Andariels Visage on life on hit with basically 100% additional life. So we have 20.6k and we can have 20.6k barrier on this one. Next, let's briefly talk about enchantments. We have Ice Blades as our basically push setup. If we want to move around and speed through maps or anything you want to speed through, you want to slot in teleport. And if you have enough damage, want to speed things up and have Andariels, you can go with this setup. This will lower your damage output slightly because we are not focusing on Devouring Blaze, but you get mobility and the Ice Blade cooldown reduction. So you have basically 100% uptime on Unstable Currents, a ton of Ice Blades. So this setup is better on the high end. And with this Ring of Starless Skies, you don't need the mana regen affix anymore. So you can drop this one for intelligence and grab a chest with maximum life, and intelligence is a greater roll, or armor is a greater roll. So you can free up your jewelry. However, because we are sorcerers, we basically overcap all our resistances anyway. So we don't even need this one. The diamond 8% all resistance is basically useless to us right now. So we could potentially slot in another skull gem and then completely omit armor on this one and pick something else. If you have Tyraels Might in this slot specifically, you lose the unstoppable on ice armor, you lose the damage reduction here, but you gain more resistance. You can cap out your shadow resistance this way. You can slot in your skull gems in all your slot in jewelry, and you need, and I repeat, you need an armor roll on your boots. So you want movement speed, maximum life, and armor on this one. Ideally, the armor should be greater affix to really offset that you are losing the armor on your chest. Anyway, this sums up the video. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already, and see you next time. Bye!